Some developing news in Congress right now where a new defense bill has just passed that would prevent the Pentagon from recouping bonus money paid out to thousands of California National Guard soldiers who re-enlisted and were given bonuses during the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. Now, this new defense bill not only bars the Pentagon from trying to recoup this money, it refunds those who already paid it back and gives U.S. troops their biggest pay raise in 6 years. Joining me now, one of the supporters of the bill, Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff of California. He joins us. He's the ranking member of the Intelligence Committee and had introduced legislation last month to permanently ban the Pentagon from recouping the bonus. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. This made national headlines not terribly long ago in the middle of the election campaign. I think some of it got lost. But it is incredible that you have these people who re-enlisted. They were given bonus money. It was an error. But then we're told through no fault of their own, they would need to pay this money back, which was a hardship on many of them already.
It really was appalling, I think, for the Pentagon to go after these soldiers. They did their end of the bargain. They were offered these incentives. They went off to Iraq and Afghanistan. They served with valor. And for the Pentagon to try to come back and claw these bonuses back, I think, was a terrible injustice. And I'm glad that we have passed language in the defense bill to rectify this and basically to tell the Pentagon, back off. You're not going after these soldiers. And any who have paid the bonuses back will be reimbursed. Now, there were a small number of people who were actually involved in a fraud here, and that shouldn't be lost in this either. Someone has already gone to jail because they were awarding bonuses knowing that these soldiers weren't eligible. But for the vast majority of the soldiers, they accept these bonuses with every reason to believe they were perfectly legitimate, and the Pentagon should not be going after them.
And we're talking about some 10,000 members of the Army National Guard who may have received these bonuses from 2004 to 2010. As you pointed out, they were meant to go to troops with in-demand skills, but in some cases there were fraud instances, but for the most part, these were not things that these individuals did wrong. I do want to talk about some other things in this bill which prohibits the closing of the Guantanamo Bay prison as well. Let me get your reaction on that.
Well, as you might imagine, in any major defense bill, there are going to be parts you like and parts you don't. Certainly the provision that would end these clawbacks of payments to the Guard, something I very strongly supported. The Gitmo provisions that would bar transfers is something I've continually opposed. I think we really ought to shut down Guantanamo, and I think putting these restrictions in, keeping this detention facility open, only serves to aid as a rallying cry for jihadis around the world. It also, I think, inhibits us in working with allies who strongly disagree with maintaining this facility. So I think this is a mistake, but as you might imagine, a big bill, particularly as someone in the minority, there are going to be things you like in it and things you don't.
And let's talk about last night, Donald Trump revealing, to the surprise of apparently his team, his transition team, as well as the audience, his nominee for Defense Secretary, General Mattis, James Mattis. What is your reaction to this newest announcement?
Well, I like General Mattis a lot. I've met him. I was very impressed with him. I also like the fact that this is someone who has already told the president-elect that torture doesn't work, that someone who will push back against Iran hard, but nonetheless recognizes that it would be a big mistake to try to walk away from the agreement. And also, I think, will give the president-elect sound advice when it comes to Russia and offset, I think, some of the pro-Russian views that not only the president-elect has, but General Flynn, his national security advisor, has. There is a big issue, though, in that he would require a statutory waiver because he hasn't been out of uniform for the required 7 years. And what will concern me is if the president-elect intends to fill other prominent positions in his cabinet with other generals and admirals. I think then you really do have profound questions about whether we'll have civilian control of the military.
But you would support the way I know your colleague, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand of New York, is indicating that she would not support this waiver. You would be willing to support it?
I am open to supporting a repeal. I haven't made a firm decision on it, but I wouldn't consider that a complete bar. If this is the right man for the job, I'd be willing to support him. But I would like to hear from him. He's, I think, a very thoughtful person, a great scholar. I'd like to hear from him about his views on civilian control of the military. But I'd also like to make sure that the context, and that is how many other people this president-elect has in mind to fill roles like Secretary of State, whether he foresees appointing someone from the military there. Those kind of additional appointments would give me great cause for concern and would affect my decision on whether to support an exception to the bar on the Secretary of Defense.
Congressman Adam Schiff, thank you so much for joining us with this big development, though, that was your major focus regarding these military personnel and this bonus situation. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great week.